And welcome back to this Founding Fathers Friday edition of the Andrew Gosser Show, right here on 103.9 WYAB. We are moving and grooving this Friday. I tell you what, every time I sit in this chair and I hit that button to go live, it's a true honor and a pleasure to be here. Love what I do. Look, we're streaming on Rumble, we're streaming on X, we're streaming on YouTube, and we're streaming at WYAB.com. You can also follow me on X at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. You want to be part of the program today. The number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. And our mission here is to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And look, I said this yesterday and I'm saying it again today. Where there is no governance, the people fail. But where there's abundance of counselors, there is victory. And it's really awesome because trying to call in right now, the number, Spencer Ritchie is about ready to call in. I accidentally texted him the wrong line. And he's got it right now. So hopefully he'll be right here. But we're going to talk about the Hinds County elections and what we can do to get involved with that. It's a big deal. He called right on time. Apparently, my fat finger gave him the wrong number. That was terrible. But he's calling in right now, and here we go. Brother Spencer, you there?
I'm here.
Hey, brother, that's my fault. My fat fingers gave you the wrong number. I apologize. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
Yep. It's really an honor to have you. This is Spencer Ritchie. He's the Hinds County GOP chairman, doing a great job leading us. And Spencer, the reason I wanted to have you on, I reach out to a lot of people and try to get them involved in the local party here. And I'm trying to explain to our listeners some of the challenges that we have distinctly in Hinds County that perhaps they don't have in Madison or Rankin County. And I know you're the guy just to break it down. So go ahead, brother.
Yeah, sure, Andrew. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk through it with you and your listeners. Hinds County is a very large county. We have over 108 precincts in Hinds County. So it's a big challenge to conduct our primary elections. In our county, the Republican Party for many years has chosen to conduct the Republican primary itself in a lot of counties across the state, and I think I would say probably most counties across the state. The county party enters into an agreement with the county election commission and just lets the election commission conduct the primary election. We've chosen in Hinds County not to do that. We like to have control over our own primary election. We like to train our own poll workers. We like to be very involved in election day procedures after the polls close. And so what we do is we recruit our own poll workers, the Hinds County Republican Executive Committee. We train them. In fact, for this upcoming March 10th primary election, we've got, and Andrew, I know you know this, but we've got training classes that we will be conducting, 8 of them, in fact, over the course of the month of February, starting this afternoon, where we train our poll workers on how to conduct the election the right way to make sure that it's done in a safe and secure manner and according to law. But this is a challenge because, like I said, we have a lot of precincts, and we try and get them all filled with at least 3 poll workers. And so, to any of your listeners, if you have been looking for a way to get involved in the Republican Party in Hinds County, even though Hinds County votes on a whole very democratically, we have a lot of really good Republicans in our county, and that are trying to turn that around. And then when you look at sheer vote totals, I mean, we account for a lot of Republican votes in statewide elections, and many people attribute the Republican vote in Hinds County as one reason why we were able to elect a conservative Supreme Court justice in Jennifer Branning, which is a really big deal. But one of the ways that people can get involved is by volunteering as a poll worker. There's no better way, Andrew, and you know this, having done it in the past. There's no better way to understand the nuts and bolts of how an election works than to serve as a poll worker, and also for those who election integrity is important as it is with most Republicans. There's no better way to ensure the integrity of the election than by being involved in the process. So, to any of your listeners who might be available and interested in serving as a poll worker on March 10th, we'd love to have them.
Spencer, that's awesome, and I'll continue to plug that. I know that there's training today from 2 to 3 p.m. I hope to be there. And
right.
If anybody wants to go ahead and be a poll worker, you can always reach out to me on the text line, and I will make sure that your information gets forwarded to Spencer and that we get you hooked up with the training you need. And just
Right.
Personally, Spencer, I'll say this: the difference between being a poll worker and a poll watcher is immense. You know, we've had poll watchers where when I've been the poll worker, I've really tried to make sure that they can see what's going on, but sometimes they just integrate themselves in a way that makes it impossible for us to do our job. And then you have to go send them 10 feet away, and then it really loses the whole atmosphere of it all. So being a poll worker is the absolute best way to do that. And the other point that I want to make real quick before we jump on to something else is Hinds County has so many Republicans, and we need to make sure that they stay involved and integrated into our election efforts. We've got a really great primary coming up on March 10th, and this is no better way to be part of that than to do that. And one question that was asked in my daughter's civics class, are we going to allow high schoolers who turn 18 this year to actually be poll workers?
Yes, they can. Yeah, as long as you register to vote before the election. So, and then of course to be able to do that, you have to be 18. So as long as you, and I'll verify this, get back to you, Andrew, if I'm incorrect in saying this, but I believe as long as you're registered to vote, even if it's just the day before the election, then you can serve as a poll worker. So we have had in the past, high school seniors serve as poll workers, but these are students who turn 18 their senior year, and if that applies, I mean it's a really good experience. And some of our best poll workers have been. We have had high school seniors. We also get a lot of college students. And we have, locally, we have Mississippi College School of Law. We've had a lot of law students participate as poll workers, and I think to a person, they have all had a wonderful experience. It is a long day, as you know. It's a little before 7 and after 7 p.m. It's a full day, but having done it a few times myself, it's also a rewarding day. I mean, you feel like when the day's over, you're tired, but you feel like, man, that was a rich experience. And for those who turn 18 to register to vote for election day, they are certainly eligible to serve the poll worker. And one of the things,
Brother Spencer, you're breaking up there, my man. Yeah. You're breaking up there a little bit. I don't know.
Sorry.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
It's really bad, brother. Maybe step outside or get a little bit more out there. It was really digitized a little bit. Brother, just why don't you try calling back? That is Spencer Ritchie. Something went with the haywire there with the phone. Surprise, surprise. Hopefully he calls back. But it is an incredible experience for those of you who are either high school students or college students to get involved locally. Charlie Kirk was big into participation in events like this. And it's really important that we empower all of you. Hopefully Spencer comes back real quick, because I did have a question about the ballot situation in Hinds County and how there was a little bit of a worry that we weren't going to have enough ballots. And I know that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party were working really hard along with the County Board of Supervisors to go ahead and rectify that situation. And I do believe it's fixed. Well, we're waiting for Spencer to call back. His phone might have just ended up giving up the ghost. Don't know. Today from 2 to 3 p.m. at the GOP headquarters down there on Yazoo Street in Jackson. If you've been a poll worker before and you want to get brought up to speed, let's try this again. Brother Spencer, you there?
Hey, Andrew, can you hear me better now?
1,000%. 1,000%. Yep.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I was just going to add one more thing about serving as a poll worker, and that some people ask me about is, as long as you're registered to vote in Hinds County, you can work at any precinct in Hinds County. It doesn't have to be the precinct where you vote. And so that's an important element of the law that we like to remind people about.
Yep, that's important. And I was just going to say, too, when you work your precinct, you really get to build up friendships with your neighbors if you work in your own precinct, or you get to meet new people. The fellowship component of working the polls is really strong.
It really is. I agree 100%.
Yep. So can I switch gears a little bit and talk about the ballot question that was happening earlier in the week? We had some people call in and text in saying that Hinds County didn't have ballots for absentee voting. Do you have any update on that, or what actually really did happen? Because it seems like it'd be hard to realize that there wouldn't be any ballots to go ahead and vote on.
Sure. Yeah, that was the case. I believe it has now been resolved. Part of the problem, what's happened this year, and some of your listeners may have seen this on the news, is even though, as I explained earlier, we conduct our own primary elections, we still have to work with the county, because the county, of course, we don't own the ballot machines. We don't have access to the polling sites. We don't actually print the ballots. We don't own or pack any of the materials that go out to polling sites. That's something that Hinds County does. And for elections, it's the election commission that is in charge of all that. And so historically what we've done is, even though we conduct our own election, we will enter into an agreement with the election commission that just says, hey, we're going to do all these functions, but because you as the county possess all these things, we need you to agree that you'll make these things available for us, that we'll have access to the polling sites, that you will make sure that the ballots are printed. Well, this year, for whatever reason, the election commission just decided, you know what, we're not doing any of that. You do it all. And that it's not a huge deal, again, because we're used to conducting our own election, but it's complicated the process a little bit, and it has caused some hiccups like what we saw with the ballot, because functions that the party has normally and historically relied on the county to make sure that happens is not happening that way this year. So we're figuring it out. We're working around the election commission on some of these things, working directly with the Hinds County Board of Supervisors and others who work for the county. And I believe it should end up being as smooth as always, but unfortunately it caused that hiccup for absentee balloting, but that has since been resolved.
Awesome. And that wasn't just for Republicans, that was for Democrats too.
It was. So, yeah, that's exactly right. They've told the Democratic Party that they're not helping them this year either. So it's a little bit of a shame. I mean, I'm not sure. I have to be careful, Andrew, as you know, about talking about the election commission, because I do have to work with the commission so much.
Absolutely.
We have to have a working relationship, but
yep.
I have a hard time understanding why they would take this position, and in many ways it seems like they're sort of abdicating their responsibilities, but I'll just leave it at that.
Yep, that's a great place to leave it. It's always easier to leave the bridge up than blow it up and then have to rebuild it. And I'm speaking from experience there, and I repent for that. But is there anything else that you want to talk about before we go? We got about 3 minutes left.
Yeah. One thing I would like to mention, Andrew, is as you are aware, one thing that we've started in Hinds County that I'm really excited about over the last year or so is we now have a Hinds County Republican Club. And I'm the chairman of the executive committee. We kind of do all the functions of the local party, as in, putting on the elections, all of that stuff, certifying candidates. But we really wanted to have a separate body that was more of an outward facing entity, really just a place for Republicans in the county to gather on a regular basis. And so we formed the Hinds County Republican Club, and we are having monthly meetings. And our next meeting is February 10th. So I think that's a Tuesday, next Tuesday, at the Iron Horse Grill in downtown Jackson. We're having two sort of legislative focused club meetings just because the legislature's in session. This on Tuesday, we'll have our Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hoseman, is going to speak. We were supposed to have Speaker Jason White in January, but the weather and the unfortunate passing of his father kept him from doing that one, and we'll try and get him back on the schedule. But this is just a great opportunity for Republicans in the county to gather, for candidates to come and speak, and for us to have a good time and try and organize a little bit better in the county. And so I encourage your listeners who are wanting to get involved if they can, to come out on February 10th at 5:30 at the Iron Horse Grill. And we have a Facebook page, the Hinds County Republican Club does, so that's a good way to keep up with what we're doing.
Spencer, I really appreciate it. I know being a former chairman, it's sometimes a lot of unglorious work that's not often appreciated. But I want to say in front of everybody, I appreciate all that you're doing, and we are pushing the ball in the right direction in Hinds County. And we'll stay in touch. We'll stay in touch for sure, my friend.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you having me on, and thank you for all that you do in our county.
Yep, no worries, brother. It's an honor to serve with you. Everybody, that was Brother Spencer Ritchie, chairman of the GOP in Hinds County. And we're going to take our first commercial break. When we get back, we've got so much more to talk about. This is WYAB 103.9. We will be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. That last segment was good. I was really appreciative, Dispenser, for coming on. And, it's one of those things where we've got to build a party, and it's going to take all types. It's going to take the conservatives. It's going to take the Tea Party types. It's going to take the independents. It's going to take those who are more mainstream. They're going to take the Trumpsters, the Ron DeSantis folks. It's going to take all of us. And I'll always welcome that on. In saying that, I also welcome the Democrats to come on. I did reach out and I did get a number. It didn't go through, or if it left a message, I don't know if they ever got it or not. But I did want to get how the Democrats felt about the county election committee commission not printing up the ballots. I'm glad that we all got it resolved. I'll say this: when I'm working the polls, and I know that there are people on the other side who don't necessarily agree with me politically, but it's cordial and it's friendly, and it's got to be that way. It just seems like all this social media, all it does is divide us and enrage us and fire us up, and we've got to get beyond that. But the big story of the day actually broke last night with Brother Shad White coming out, and I know that Clay had him on the radio this morning, but I'm going to play his video, and I'm just going to talk about it because it's going to talk about a new segment that we're going to break out here in a little bit.
Yesterday, you might have seen how my team and I exposed an organization that was receiving nearly $200,000 of your money, taxpayer funds, to stop human trafficking. What I'm talking about is an organization called El Pueblo, which got a massive grant from the Human Trafficking Fund here in Mississippi. So what is El Pueblo? What do they do? Well, they participate in and they organize anti-ICE protests. They tell their supporters on social media to go to the legislature and advocate against any immigration enforcement bills. Their executive director goes on social media and engages in these long anti-ICE screeds. Look, this is the stuff that just defies common sense. Taxpayers do not want their money going to organizations like this. Imagine if that $200,000 had been spent on an organization that just focused on stopping human trafficking and none of this other stuff. This is the kind of stuff that needs to stop. It's the kind of stuff that I pledged to you I would tell you about as I found it in my position as state auditor. It's the kind of stuff that lawmakers need to put a stop to today.
And we agree with that. We can't have our government tax dollars going to support this stuff. And last night, when this video came out, I ended up spending about 2 hours on my home computer just going through El Pueblo using AI. And some of the stuff I found was quite remarkable. Like the people who provide oversight on this committee. Um, did you know that there are 5 individuals on this oversight committee? And one is provided by the governor, one is provided by the lieutenant governor, one is provided by the Speaker of the House, one is provided by the AG, and then there's different representatives from the Department of Public Safety, Child Protective Services, and a service provider who are on this as well. And ultimately, it's seen over by AG Lynn Finch. So that's where the buck stops. But I think we need to start digging deeper. I think we get all turned sideways and things are moving so quick that we don't go dig deep down like we used to. There's no real investigative journalism anymore, unless you're Nick Shirley or James O'Keefe or somebody like that, Nick Sordor. These independent people, Data Republican is another one. We don't get the deep dive from local WLBT or anything like that. We don't see it. I'm not calling them out. I just, what is the oversight that this board is providing to the Mississippi taxpayer? And were they aware of these things that the auditor found? If not, why not? When I was a county supervisor and I voted yes for something, I took ownership of it. And this Victims of Human Trafficking Fund Committee, they voted for it, and they own it along with Lynn Finch because she is overseeing that. And the thing this is what's gonna really start driving. I think we're gonna call it a TTP Tuesday. TTP, in the Air Force, we had this thing called techniques, tactics, and procedures. And what we hope to do, not starting next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, we're gonna have a segment where we live on air are gonna start researching some of this stuff using AI. In my case, Gronk, you can use ChatGPT or the soup du jour of your choice. We used to call it Googling back in the day before Googling got corrupted. And I am sure that in time, ChatGPT and XAI, Grok, whatever you want to call it, is going to get corrupted too. But it's absolutely fascinating when you start putting things into AI and asking AI to search for it. You'll never use Google Chrome again to search for anything. You won't go to Yahoo, you won't go to DuckDuckGo or anything else that you use. And the thing about it is as you use AI, it learns what you're looking for, and the prompts that you give it get smarter and smarter. And yep, you can use it to go produce some really raunchy, salacious material. That's not gonna be what a TTP Tuesday is. We're gonna be like a APG-71 lockdown in a F-14D with 4 to 6 AIM 54C Phoenixes. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna start locking stuff up. And the thing is, it's Nick Sordor can't do it all by himself. James O'Keefe can't do it all by himself. Nick Shirley can't do it all by himself. WYAB can't do it all by ourselves. We need all of you locked in and participating. And some of you will say, "Oh, Andy, I don't have the time to do it." That's all right. Just listen or let someone else know about it. But some of y'all are going to learn some really powerful stuff. And when we start looking at this online and we start finding things, it's going to really open your eyes. The sweet bee's in Honduras today, but last night my daughter was watching me do this and she was like, "Dad, is this real?" I'm like, "Look at it. It's right there." And I think it's really important that we as American citizens, look, we're in the fight of our lives for our country right now. And we are getting distracted with missing grandmas. We're getting distracted with Benghazi, which was important. We need to talk about that. But there's so much coming at us that we can't really focus on any one thing. And I've even got a story on that where they're saying now that people who read books have the more memory capability, more capacity to remember stuff than people who just read it on computer screens and swipe all day. So we're fighting a lot of stuff against us here, but there are tools out there that we can use, and I'm excited to bring that to you. We're going to take our next break. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. I will not let you down. We are going to continue to press on to the target. And one thing I've noticed is I'm working on this new segment, TTP Tuesdays, is that all your AI is not necessarily linked up. Like my AI at home on Grok is not the same that it is here. I don't understand why, but they act totally different. And I'm glad that I've got a little bit more time to do that. But we do have to talk about Benghazi because there was a lot of people who didn't necessarily think it was that big of a deal. And, normally I do have my Pam Bondi quote on bookmark and I play it all the day today. And today is no different. We're going to have a Pam Bondi quote, but it's going to be a little bit different.
To announce that the FBI has arrested one of the key participants behind the Benghazi attack. Zubair al-Bakash landed at Andrews Air Force Base at 3 a.m. this morning. He is in our custody. He was greeted by Director Patel and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
And that's about enough of that. But that's really good. And it's funny because Pam Bondi's sitting there in her suit, good on her. And Pam and Jean Shapiro is sitting off to her left. Kash Patel is at her right. And they both have the 10,000-mile stare. Law enforcement know about that. Military know about that. But a lot of people may not. And they're just being professional. They're just being professional. And it's important that we go after this guy. Benghazi might have been over 10, 15 years, 12 years ago, whatever it was. We cannot forget our 4 service members who died, our CIA operators. It's a big deal, right?
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
It makes all the difference in the world. We don't leave anybody behind, and we need to find out what the motive was. It's a big deal, and this whole thing crashing around the Clintons now, it doesn't surprise me. It'll be dragged out. I know they're going to go testify. I know that they're going to go get hauled before Congress. But at this point, we have to hold them accountable. But I do find it interesting that they're getting up there in years, and this is all coming out now. And I stand by my comments in the last segment that there's so much happening in the world today that we get distracted, whether that be missing people, whether that be the Super Bowl, whether that be the Olympics, U.S. soccer, Arsenal, LSU. And we've got another story coming up here, and it's going to affect many people here in Mississippi. It's going to potentially be an absolute disaster. Oh, let's take this phone call here. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, Brother Richard. How you doing?
Man, you throw so much red meat out there, it's hard to determine where to take the first bite.
That is a true compliment. I appreciate that, my friend.
I tell you what, just to start off, when you talked about people that read and have a longer attention span, and going back to cell phones, I think about my dad who smoked for 30 years. And I used to watch him reposition that cigarette in his hand and throw the ashes into the tray and then work with his hands with that cigarette in his mouth. And just all the mechanics that went with the cigarette. When he finally quit smoking, he didn't know what to do with his hands.
I remember that. I remember other
Because
smokers talking about that.
Yeah, and he didn't know what to do with his hands. And these kids, they don't know what to do with their hands because they're usually filling it with a cell phone.
Wow.
It's like they're lost if they don't have that in front of them. It's the darndest thing I've ever seen. But that aside, going back to another thing you talked about, correct me if I'm wrong, do these state senators introduce, 200 different bills during the course of a legislative session, or just exactly how many total are actually?
There's over 2,000 submitted.
Okay, so my question is this. Do they actually think that all of those are going to be passed or addressed, or they just use it for an opportunity to say, well, I represented my constituents and I presented a bill, but it died in committee, so they can see why? Am I wrong?
That's the usual ploy. As a recovering politician, I would say.
Right. Well, it goes back to what you said before. If you go back to our founding fathers, with probably the exception of Benjamin Franklin, who was an atheist, these men were godly men. They were holding themselves and each other accountable. We don't have that anymore, Andrew. We don't have that anymore.
Nope.
Everybody is affected by the next money or the lobbyist or whoever can affect them. And it's, I mean, it's kind of like, what do you expect? That's what you got.
It's how our representative republic has evolved over time. It never used to be this way. And don't get me wrong, I think there are really good people in Jackson, in Washington, who are trying to do the right thing, but they are completely surrounded by sharks, and they know that they're going to have one bite at the apple, and they got to make sure it's their best bite. And that's why it's so important that when we have our representatives in the state who are in really red conservative districts, that they vote the right way. Whereas if you've got, a Republican from Hinds County, they might be a little bit more moderate, but that doesn't mean that they're not part of the team. You're just expecting a little bit something different from them. The same can be said in the U.S. House of Representatives. A Republican from the state of New York is going to act a lot different, or should act a lot different than a Republican from Mississippi. Would you agree with that statement or no?
I would agree, but there's one word you used in there, should.
Well,
should.
It's
and the thing about it is, I'll give you an example. Holzman, Delbert Holzman ran a Joe Biden campaign. You never saw him. He was never on any type of town hall. He never did anything on the radio. He never asked any questions. He was totally absent, but he won.
Well, you're going to have a chance
to election.
You're going to have a chance to come see him on the 10th of February, this next week at Iron Horse Grill at 5:30. For those who want to go see him, I'm going to be there. I don't get along with everybody like people want me to, but I'm always respectful. And anytime I get a chance to go see these guys, I will, because I want to understand where they're coming from and what they're thinking for. And we're going to have a really big race in 2027. And I hope you're going to be part of this TTP Tuesdays, Richard, because there's so much out there that needs to be unearthed. And there's no way, I'm not trying to be arrogant or snobbish or self-righteous, but there's no way I can find it all. I can point us in the right direction, but there's so much out there. It's absolutely breathtaking. It would just shock the heck out of so many people if they actually saw what was actually public knowledge, but we just never look for it.
Yeah, and it's bringing light.
Yep.
Darkness is the absence of light. No affirmative action cannot occur without the light, and you got to put the light on these people. But we're too busy worrying about just an overall statement. Everybody's screaming and bloody murder about the immigration situation. Do you know how many things that would fix if you just took care of that?
Oh, it would be huge.
You'd have such a trickle-down effect. Other things would take care of themselves if you were able, because I can tell you right now, and I've heard you mention this, these protesters in Minnesota, you spray them with water, it's cold, it freezes. Do you know why they don't do that? Because you've got Republican plants. You've got people that are in that group that are part of the anti-Trumpers, and we can't harm them because they're in there stirring the pot just like some of these blue-haired liberals are. And they know they're there.
If they're agitators, they're agitators. They have to be held accountable. And we've got,
I agree.
We've got really big problems coming up the pike this year. Richard, I got to let you go. We're up against a break, but I appreciate the phone call, my friend.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Yep. That was Brother Richard, everybody. And you know what? He's got some points there. There are some Republicans who are out there agitating. And look, it's your right to protest. If you want to bring your kids to a protest, hey, you do that. But when they get tear gassed, it's not the person firing the tear gas's fault. It's you're in a mob and they're rioting, and the police have decided that they're going to go ahead and use crowd control measures. And for me, I don't want my kids in that vicinity. So guess what? I'm going to forbid them to go. But that's just me. When we get back, we are going to talk about a very serious situation unfolding in Louisiana and Mississippi. You're not going to want to miss it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We got some serious breaking news, but before I read this headline, I got to wash my mouth out. Hold on. Here we go. LSU scientists are working to lessen the impact of invasive apple snails on crawfish farms. Ladies and gentlemen, the crawfish supply is in jeopardy in 2026. There is a massive invasion of apple snails. This is coming out of Baton Rouge. The apple snail, one of the most invasive species in the Gulf region, is a major nuisance for crawfish farmers. With the crawfish season only a few months away, LSU scientists are working to lessen their impact. It's hard for me to say those letters, and there's a long story behind it, and it's all in good fun. So you tigers out there, just chill. But it's a lot of fun stirring you up. I got to admit it. They're omnivores, ladies and gentlemen. So that means they eat plants, they eat meat. They'll eat pretty much anything that they want to eat, says LSU Assistant Professor of Biology, Sidney Mayo. One thing about them is that their population is really big. They say that one of these female snails can lay up to 1,000 eggs every 10 days. We're going to take out our crawfish, everybody. I don't know about you, but one of my favorite days of the year is the crawfish boil on a Sunday after church. Getting to hang out in fellowship with all my friends and just slaughter crawfish and the potatoes and the corn. Man, those crawfish boils are something else. And I know a lot of us out there appreciate a good crawfish boil. We enjoy it. This is the thing that kind of gets me fired up. They were sold as aquarium fish, and then they would crawl out of people's tanks and lay their eggs. LSU Ag Center Associate Professor of Entomology, Blake Wilson said. So this is like releasing goldfish into your backyard pond. You think it's a good idea at the time, but in the end, you're only screwing up your own pond. You talk to anybody who has a pond and does this type of work. Once you get an invasive species out there, it's really hard for them to do it. LSU researchers are doing tests to determine whether apple snails, and crawfish eat the same food. We know they do. And they're considering, listen to this, the Ag Center scientists are also considering using chemicals to control the apple snail populations, but are having a hard time finding substances that affect the snails, but not the crawfish. To heck with the snails, to heck with the crawfish, what about the humans? We don't want any chemicals in our crawfish. The only thing we want is some Zatarain, some garlic. Troy, if you're listening, you can throw a little bit of ghost pepper in there too. You know, that'll fire them up. Put that in for the last batch, Brother Troy, Brother John. Get the memo. I'll put that out there in the church bulletin. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. When we get back, it's a Founding Father Friday. You know them. You love them. This is going to be one that you probably do not know. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It's a Founding Fathers Friday. I'm excited to get this one in. But we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube, and we're streaming at WYAB.com. Follow me on X. It's at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. Definitely posting stuff there. I'm more of a reposter, but I like to post the stuff that I use, sources for my show, for the show, and that's where you can find me. If you want to be part of the program, 601-879-0002. The text line is open, 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Where there is no guidance, the people fall. But in an abundance of counselors, there is victory. And that's the important thing, is that we have abundance of counselor. Pastor Franco used to say a council of wise men. It could be wise women too. Not saying they're just not, but that's just what he said. I'm gonna never forget it. And it being a Founding Father Friday, when the random number generator popped up, this guy, I was like, oh yeah, I actually did remember this guy, and I did. Mr. Hettinger actually spoke about him for about 5 minutes in 7th grade, and I do remember it. You know him, you love him. It's William Paca, ladies and gentlemen. William Paca, Founding Father, signer of the Declaration of Independence, was born on October 31st, 1970, at his family's plantation near Abington in Maryland, Baltimore County. Now it's considered Hartford County, Maryland. And he was the second son out of 7, 2 boys and 5 girls. Man, that's a lot of sisters to be dealing with. My goodness gracious. Growing up on a prosperous household on the Eastern Shore region, his early childhood involved typical experiences of affluent planters. They had an enormous plantation. They really seemed to go into his background from all the different sources that I got. He was more of an outdoorsman type of dude, riding horses, hunting. I guess it would be kind of standard stuff a kid would be doing back during that time. But he was really interested in the outdoors, and his faith had a really big influence on him. Not so much that he was like a preacher like some of our other founding fathers are or anything, but he had regular attendance, Anglican, and you could definitely see that he had more of what I would call the humble side of faith. There's so many of us who have that faith. We don't wear it on our sleeve. We show up to church on Sunday. We worship in private. We don't like making it everybody's business, and we respect that. And that's like a lot what William Paca was. He wasn't an atheist. He wasn't a deist. Like there was a couple of spots out there that said that. I'm like, man, but that's how the infection starts, and that's why we have Founding Father Fridays. He then started going to school at home with tutors, emphasizing on the classics, things like Latin, Christianity. At around age 11 and 12, he and his brother were sent to Philadelphia Academy and Charity School, Pennsylvania, formal schooling. And then he went to UPenn, the University of Pennsylvania, earning a bachelor's degree in 1759 and a master's degree in 1762. He then went back to Annapolis and started tutoring for law. And this is, I think, where he got his political bug from. It just seems to me like most lawyers are politically inclined or knowledgeable, whether they're on the left or the right, it doesn't matter. I've got friends who are lawyers on the left and friends who are lawyers on the right. And it just seems like we're getting a lot more of those in society today that are trying to get involved in politics. And we can see what has ever been done has always been done under the sun. There's nothing new. Just like it is today, it was just like it was back then in the founding of our country. And he ended up taking the bar and passing by the mid 1760s. And this is where his political career really takes off, ladies and gentlemen. William Paca's political career began in the mid 1760s, amid rising colonial tensions with England. After establishing himself as a lawyer in Annapolis, we talked about that, he had a close friend, Samuel Chase, who also ended up signing the Declaration of Independence, became leaders in opposing the Stamp Act of 1765. How many of us remember learning about the Stamp Act back in the day? You got to pay your stamp to Great Britain. And these were two of the guys who opposed it. Organizing and founding the Anne Arundel County, Annapolis chapter of the Sons of Liberty. Now, you look up the Sons of Liberty today and people think it's a racist organizations. And it's just shameful because you know why? Our public schools don't teach the real history. Public schools will sit there and talk about all the negative things that our founding fathers did, but they don't realize all the good stuff they did either. This is especially for the Democrats more than the Republicans, but how many of you are pure like Jesus? Without sin, perfect. Everybody has things in their past, and myself included. But when this came out, I was just like, my goodness gracious. And he also started mobilizing protests against the British taxation without representation. His growing reputation as a patriot led him to his first election as a common councilman in the city of Annapolis in 1766. See, he didn't go for congressman, governor, chief justice. He was just a local councilman. He started at the bottom. I try to encourage so many people listening, I want to run for office. I want to run for office. Start at the bottom, man. Learn how to do it. You got to crawl before you can. You got to sit up before you can crawl. I mean, you crawl before you walk, kind of thing. In 1767, Paca was elected to the lower house of Maryland Assembly, referred to as the Maryland House of Delegates, representing Annapolis. So that's pretty interesting. I haven't been to the Naval Academy in so long. I'm sure his house has got to be somewhere in Annapolis. It'd be cool to go check it out. He served continuously in the body till 1774, and he was a major figure in the Popular Party opposing British policies. He was definitely one of the people on the other side. He was more of the ultra-conservative side, more of a Tea Party type, MAGA type. He wasn't more of the mainstream. That's what I got from my studies in this. By 1774, the crisis deepened, and he was selected as a part of Maryland's delegation to the First Colonial Congress in Philadelphia. And this is where it gets really good, ladies and gentlemen. He helped draft resolutions. He wrote so many of our amendments and was credited with, providing input in all of this. He was one of our founding fathers who was known more for his pen than his voice, which I thought was really cool. I actually, watching the video, I kind of got choked up a little bit. I'm not BSing anybody here. I mean, I was just like, man, this guy would sit there and be involved in debates and involved in the Continental Congress, but he was the one who was scribing everything, writing it all down. And there's some good quotes here that go into that. And he continued to be praised as generous and noble in conduct during debates. I guess some of those debates, and we'll get into this in future Founding Fathers sections, some of those debates were quite raucous, like Lower House of Commons in England. Definitely crazy. But Paca was noted as someone who was level-headed and even-keeled. I was going to say another comment, but I won't because it's not true. He was reelected to the Second Continental Congress in 1775, continuing to serve as tensions escalated towards open conflict. In this role, he supported early independence efforts, and by mid-1776, advocated for Richard Henry Lee's resolution declaring early independence for Maryland, or early independence, but Maryland restricted him from actually doing what he was supposed to do, voting for it, until the provincial convention lifted that. So just like South Carolina, or we talked about how they wouldn't let their delegates vote for independence, the Maryland did the same thing. Up until that point, his career reflected steady progression from local activist and legislator to respected national voice for colonial rights and self-determination. Isn't that what we're kind of pushing here at the Andrew Gosser Show? Be active locally and build yourself up to something bigger. If it's good enough for William Paca, isn't it good enough for you? It's good enough for me. I'm not running for anything ever again. I hit my ceiling at highway commissioner. I'm happy for that. I'll go do some other stuff if they ask me to, but This isn't about me. And that's what I love about our founding fathers. They were so selfless. They really were. Whether it's Thomas Nelson Jr. blowing up his own house, or this guy sitting here taking more time to write stuff down and do the writing than actually boasting in the Continental Congress. That's really cool. And finally, on July 2nd, 1776, they voted to approve the Declaration of Independence, and he signed it on August 2nd. Up to that point, his career reflected steady progression from, or I already talked about that, from local activist to legislator. After signing the Declaration of Independence, he returned to Maryland and continued his public service in state roles during the Revolutionary War. He was in the Senate. He was part of the governance board. He was a judge, and first a general in the general court, and then in the Court of Appeals. He ended up doing a lot of really just incredible stuff. Navigated post-war recovery, supported veterans, endorsed religious freedom initiatives. Big freedom of religion guy. Some say that he was really one of the people behind our Bill of Rights. He ended up being chartering the Washington College for Public Education and was reelected unanimously 2 times to the governor's office. So following the governorship, he returned back to the House of Delegates in 1786 and remained active in civic affairs. But he kind of just was, like I said, doing more things to push. He was more of a states' rights guy. He wasn't a Federalist. And again, this is where our Bill of Rights comes in. And, he ended up dying in 1799. Really kind of a sad, tragic. I didn't get into his married life or anything, but he was actually married twice. His first wife died, ended up not having any kids. But there are a lot of people who had a lot of really neat things to say about him. One of the founding fathers, Benjamin Rush, said he was good-tempered, worthy man with sound understanding, which he was too indulgent to exercise. He would sit there and he would always be thinking. He was one of those people with a studious look on his face. I think about it like the dinosaur with his claw on his chin, thinking, that meme back in the day. And hence his reputation in public life was less than his talents. And that's a real testament to this guy. Is, people realized how talented he was. He could have done so much more if he spoke up, but he was just content doing that. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to invest in all of you. They said Peka was a deliberator too. Even though he was known for his writings, when he had to jump in there, he would. And, the last person I want to quote here is Charles Wilson Peale. In the early period when people's eyes first became open to their rights, Peka, made the first stand for the independence of the people. And so when I think about our First Amendment, I think about William Peka. I know everybody's going to say Thomas Jefferson and all these other people, but this Peka guy, he's a founding father that we should all recognize as someone who was really big into personal liberties, individual freedoms, state rights, not a big federal government like we've got now. He would clearly be on the side of the states over the federal government. And then I'm reading this verbatim from the book I got. He goes, "These remarks portray Peka as a respected, principled, gracious fixture, reliable and well-liked, though sometimes even seemed as reserved or less assertive in public than his talents warranted. No sharply negative quotes or from other major founders, unlike Jefferson, Washington, or Franklin, appear in the historical records. He was generally viewed as positively without the extensive commentary reserved for more prominent national figures of the time or founding fathers." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. William Peka, founding father of the United States of America. I think that this Founding Fathers Friday is a great segment. It brings us back in touch with the true history, and I hope you all are enjoying it. When we get back, we got more stuff to talk about. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. The Andrew Gosser Show is back, and I love it because this is truly going to be the dulcet tones segment. But to get there, we got to go here first. And I know that Trump has enraged everybody with the meme, and everybody is fired up over that. But can I tell you something? MAGA is bigger than Trump. America First is bigger than Trump. Now, Trump is definitely the flag bearer of it right now, and anybody who says that he's not, you lying. You're full of it. He's definitely doing that. But but MAGA is bigger than Trump, and we're already starting to see a shift away from the president, if I dare be so bold. Not that he's not the man in the room; he's in charge, and we all get that. But people are already starting to look to the future with J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, dare I say Ron DeSantis. Not saying I'm voting for Ron, but anybody who's not giving him credit for the stuff he did in Florida, you are being disingenuous, sir or ma'am. And CNN must have got the memo that them only putting out the negative Trump polling data is not doing their sponsorship any good. So we got Harry Enton here, our favorite crazy pollster from CNN, and he's basically saying that exact same thing.
So how much power, and we're talking about influence here, do they have on the GOP, especially over the long run?
Yeah, over the long run. That's what I think is so important here. And it's not just about Donald Trump. It's about the Make America movement. Again, that's what we're talking about, Make America Great Again movement. And it is as powerful as it has ever been, because I want you to take a look here. GOP who view MAGA favorably. 2 years ago, when Donald Trump was running for term number 2, it was 74%. Today, look at this. It's 78% of Republicans who view the Make America Great Again movement favorably.
So that makes me ask the question, ladies and gentlemen, in your party, like, I know the people who like Trump. I know the people who don't like Trump. And who are using Trump as a vehicle to get from point A to point B? And who are the ones who are seriously out there carrying the water, going out there and putting America first, putting Mississippi first? Are those votes that can be counted on either by the president or by the governor, or are those people just sitting there trying to bide their time to let this all blow over? I'm not saying who's who in the zoo. I'm just asking the questions, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have to give the answers because you already got them. You're smart enough. You know it.
We're talking about something that, in my opinion, will very much be able to outlast Donald Trump. Trump is in term number 2. He can't run for a term number 3. But the bottom line is this. What he brought into the GOP looks like it's going to last long beyond him.
And that is exactly what we're trying to do here at the Andrew Gosser Show. We're trying to bring in new people, younger people, older people too. There's nothing wrong with the old folks on patrol. We're out there. If you know, you know, the old folks on patrol. But we need to bring in new people. Charlie Kirk was instrumental in this, which is why he was murdered. Because Charlie was bringing in that next wave, just like all of the blue-haired kids who are sitting there scrolling and can't read and comprehend now are finding out. Those of us who do read books, those of us who are out there exercising our mind in the right way, are making that happen. Now, remember how I said, and I know I bring up the Bible a lot in Ecclesiastes, a thing new is under the sun. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's sit here and listen to what this guy had to say about MAGA.
I know they desperately want Trump gone, and I know that they desperately want it codified that Trump cannot run again, because make no mistake, they remain scared to death of you, and they remain scared to death of Trump. Trump, 75 million, 80 million votes. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going anywhere.
Isn't he right? The great one, Maharishi. We're not going anywhere. The only time we're going somewhere is when they put us 6 feet under and we're either going up or going down. And that's what gets me really excited about the MAGA movement, about the Maha movement. It's bigger than any one person. It's bigger than Trump. It's bigger than Rush. It's bigger than JD Vance, Marco Rubio, or whoever's coming in after that. It's a philosophy. It's a way of thought. It's what our founding fathers thought. It is that is what makes America great. And if it was so easy, why didn't England do it? Why didn't France do it? Why didn't Germany do it? Why didn't Italy do it? Why didn't anybody in Africa do it? Or Southwest Asia, or the Middle East, or China, or Russia? There's that song, "Only in America." Let's let the great one go. I do have to break it up because I don't want to get copyrighted, but I do want to give credit to Maha Rushy because he said what that CNN pollster was saying long before CNN had this remarkable idea.
Even if Trump does, you're not. They can't separate you from Trump. And more importantly, they can't separate you from the ideas. They can't separate you from MAGA. They can't separate you from Make America Great Again, which I think remains one of our big campaign strengths going forward. They believe that they can destroy this bond that exists between you and Trump if they somehow make Trump look bad.
How many times it seems like the mainstream media, all they ever do is wait for the next story to smear Trump with, like the meme today. And they just try to, oh, I'm offended, I'm outraged. You know what? I'm offended and outraged over the mainstream media. I don't want violence against the media. I don't want violence against the judges who are perpetrating all of this. If they just did their job, we wouldn't have half the problems we do. But I do want independent journalists to go up to some of these reporters saying, hey, why did you say that? What the hell were you thinking? Because the right to a free and independent press is one thing, but when it's not free and independent, when it's Operation Mockingbird using mass formation psychosis, well, now that First Amendment isn't really what the First Amendment said it was, huh? Now there's a breakdown. Let's go back and listen to what Henry Enton had to say. Rush, you're always going to be the king of radio. We all know that. We celebrate it. That's why I wear my Rush Limbaugh EIB No Boundaries ties when I do put on a suit. They look fine, by the way. The Sweet Pea got me one, but I digress.
A very populist movement. I am curious because J.D. Vance would then be the next standard bearer of this movement. Where is the GOP on how they feel about him?
Yeah, okay. So, obviously J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, at this point looks like a favorite for the Republican nomination come 2028. And one of the reasons why he looks like a favorite is because the Republican base loves J.D. Vance. What are we talking about here? Someone who really represents the Make America Great Again movement. This is somebody a year ago, his favorable rating among Republicans, 81%. Latest Marquette University Law School poll, look at this, 84%.
And I'll tell you what, Mississippi loves J.D. Vance. And I have no problem saying it. When we went to the Charlie Kirk event, the Turning Point USA event up at Ole Miss, and we started that 48. I have no problem saying that there were a group of us up there who were cheering on JD, and we like JD. And like I told one of his support staff, the moment that he needs to get the signatures on the ballot, just give me a call. We'll put out an email, and within 2 hours, we'll have thousands of signatures for JD. Just get the digital PDF, and you're all a part of that. You are all going to be part of that. We'll get it out there, and that's something that those of us who are truly in MAGA, we don't even want the dang credit for it. We don't even want the dang credit for it. We just want to help our MAGA Republicans get into office, whether that be the president's office or the local dog catcher. The more MAGA people we have in office, the better off it's going to be. Maybe we can start looking over some of these bureaucrats who are funneling thousands and thousands of Mississippi tax dollars to organizations that don't like us. And I want to end the segment with this. I got this text last night. Let me pull it up here on my phone. And it really did hit me the right way. This is what this person said. It says, been wanting to ask you, Andrew, cited 7 times on the EIB network for advanced conservative or EIB Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Tell me about that. Well, it's really easy. I'm a Rush baby. I've called into Rush's show thousands of times, got through at least 20 times, but actually made it on air 7 times. In academia, they love to be, well, I've been cited 7 times. Well, I've been cited 100 times. I've been cited this. Well, I've been cited 7 times on Rush's show. And I used to have all 7 recorded, but I only have 1 recording left due to hard drive crashes, new computers, and whatnot. But that's why I say cited 7 times at the EIB Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies, where there are no graduates because the learning never ends. And Professor Rush, he might not be here, but we're all still in school. We're all still learning. None of us have graduated yet. That final graduation ceremony, you know what it is. But that's why I say that. I just like to give hat tips and nods, winks, and nudges to people who have been influential to me. Sometimes they're very obvious and overt, like cited 7 times at the EIB Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies, and sometimes they're not so subtle, like the old folks on patrol. We're all out there. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. We don't fear the Reaper here at the Andrew Gosser Show. I certainly don't fear the Reaper. Bring it on. You know, I was getting ready to go into the next segment here, and all of a sudden, I saw something that I wish I didn't see. No, it's nothing bad. It's trending on X. It's the 25th Amendment. And these sorry loser Democrats want to impeach Trump again over a meme. And I'm sorry, but impeachment used to mean something back in the day. You know, when they impeached President Clinton, well, it was inappropriate for him to get a Hummer from an intern in the Oval Office. It wasn't illegal. That's just the truth of the whole situation. I mean, it just is what it is. But then you try to impeach President Trump all these different times with the Democrat Senate. And the thing about it is when we impeached Nixon back in the day for wiretapping, illegally wiretapping, that meant something because you know why? There were enough Republicans in the U.S. Senate that would have voted to convict him. See, impeachment really doesn't mean jack anymore. It just is because we could impeach a ham sandwich. It's just like a grand jury. And I see some of these people calling out, trying to say that they want to impeach Trump, and they've got more words that I can't say in the radio than they do in their call to indict Trump itself. And if anybody should have been used the 25th Amendment, it should have been Joe Biden. Not because he didn't do anything wrong. He did do stuff wrong. Whether or not we'll ever be able to prove it, our lying eyes might tell us something different. But he was physically incapable of doing the job. And the deep state was running the Oval Office, and we all know it, whether it be through the auto pen or through drugs. I mean, I remember him trying to graduate brand new second lieutenants at the Air Force Academy, and he tripped and fell over. How many videos do we need of him wandering aimlessly around? I mean, this was truly abusive, what happened to Joe Biden. It was elderly abuse. Him getting hopped up on uppers, knocked down on downers. Dr. Jill Gordon, Whoopi calling her a real doctor when she's an education specialist. She wasn't a medical doctor. There's pictures of Kamala trying to get Joe to go the right way. Joe saying, "Oh, I pooped my pants." Remember that one? Please. So all of you people sitting there trying to invoke the 25th Amendment, just carry on and let that go. But I do want to say something about that meme because now the press is saying that a staffer posted it. Does this mean that there's someone writing all of Trump's tweets in Truth Socials? I mean, it's a fair question. Look, if I call it one way for Biden, don't I have to call it the same way for Trump? Odd silence and pause for dramatic effect. That's why people listen to WYAB. We just don't tote the party line. I find it absolutely incredible how people will get upset over a meme, but they won't get upset over trillions of dollars being stolen from us to fund riots, real riots, not that fake riot that happened on January 6th. It was a peaceful protest until the friggin' feds started popping off rounds and tear gas into the crowd. That's when it got crazy. Never forget it. The only riots that happened were in Wisconsin when the freaks took over the state house over the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. That was the real riot. Let's see what happens here. I feel it's going to be a good one. Go ahead. You're on the air. Oh, hey, you're going to have to call back. It's terrible connection. Not trying to be rude. That's twice in one show where the phone just freaks itself out. It's not that I want to be rude to anybody. I hope that you understand that. Let's see if they call back. I hope they do. But if not, those are the real riots. We don't get all upset over that. We don't get upset over people storming into a church. but we'll get upset over a mean tweet. I still think the best mean tweet ever was President Barack Obama when he read that tweet about Trump and he dropped the phone. I mean, again, like I said yesterday about Obama, whether you like him or you hate him, you have to say he had the machismo. He had the charisma, much like President Trump. Except I would argue President Trump just does it a little bit better, a little bit bigger, a little bit more. We in America, we've become just a society of weaklings. Yep. I did get a couple more texts in. People asking about Founding Father Fridays. What webs? So I use a couple different websites. I use the White House. I use PragerU. I use the Democrats. I actually try to get both sides of it. And I'll be truthful with y'all because someone texted in, was he a slave owner? Yep. He was. Just like most of our founding fathers were. Not saying it's right. But again, he was our founding father. Not all of our founding fathers were slave owners. Many of them were against it. Some of them, depending on what you read, were secretly against it, but knew that they couldn't get it through without the 3/5 rule, which is unconscionable, but it is what it is. And by the way, the United States is the only country that's outlawed slavery, or we were the first one to do it. Before that, England, France, and all of Europe had it. And everybody thinks that slavery was developed here. We forget about Egypt. We forget about the Ottoman Empire. And everybody forgets where the word slaves come from. Go look it up. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to give you homework. I'm just so over this petty stuff. We've got real problems to fix. And we're going to start providing real solutions because we already do here on the Andrew Gosser Show. We already do provide solutions to some of this stuff. This common sense just completely obliterates the meme culture. Although the left can't meme. Someone just texted that. The left can't meme, Andy. How many times do you have to hear that? You've been listening to Jeremy Prime a little bit. Mr. D-Day Cobra. I listen to Jeremy too. In fact, I got the backpack to prove it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. When we get back, we're going to have our last segment. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. Hello, this is Andrew. Ooh, hello.
Hey, how you doing? This is Willie. I just wanted to tell you I enjoyed listening to your show. I was driving on my way to in the hospital room. I mean, well, not hospital, but I wanted to say something yesterday that happened. I was, in a wheelchair and I was rolling myself into the hospital, and a man asked me, said, "Can I help you?" And I had on a retired Air Force cap, and he said, "I'm retired from the Air Force also." And he asked me what I did. I told him what I did, and to make a long story short, he told me what he did. He used to be a B-52 pilot, and I tell you what, it was such a enjoyable conversation I had with him, and I thought about it. I'm gonna call Andy and tell him that I met a fellow serviceman that was really touched my heart.
Can you
And
call in
I
tomorrow
said,
with that,
brother,
Brother Willie? Because we're in the commercial break right now.
yeah, okay, no problem. You take good care and God bless. Okay.
I love you, Brother Willie. I'll be praying for you and your wife.
All right, thank you. Bye
Yep.
bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, it is the Andrew Gosser Show. Man, I'll tell you what, the text that came in and then the call over the break, Brother Willie's checking in. He's doing all right. You got to keep Brother Willie and his wife in your prayers if you're the praying type. We love you, Willie. We love your wife. We're just praying for you. He had a great story talking about a vet helping him out, and that's really special. I also had a couple people text in saying how they love the show and how they were listening. And it means a lot to me when I get those. Brother Junk is checking in and saying, that's awesome. I tried many times to call Rush, but never got through. I don't know what I had. I had some type of secret sauce, Junk. Um, I can still remember talking to Mr. Snerdley. If you ever talk to Mr. Snerdley, Snerdley was the correct and adequate name for him. I even got a text checking in from my daughter-in-law. And that is really special. I love you to death. And you're amazing. Thank you for giving me such a wonderful granddaughter. Appreciate that. Well, the show was definitely kind of focused on our founding fathers and, political activism. And then this 25th Amendment come in. And of course, the usual haters text in. And I appreciate all of you. But never forget, before President Trump released the Epstein files, and we can all agree that it could have been done better, but he got it done. So I'm going to give him that. The Democrats had control of the Epstein files for 4 years. And what did you do about it? You had the House and the Senate. What did you do about it? Not a thing. You had the Attorney General's office. What'd you do about it? Not a thing. You're all full of it, and everybody knows it. It's absolutely infuriating me, the cognitive disconnect between the left and their absolute pure hatred for a man is it's right there for all to see. And again, when he's right, we say he's right, and when we disagree, we say we disagree. That's how it's got to be. That's how it works in a representative republic. That's what William Paco would want. He'd be a great debater too if he had to be, but he was more about writing it all down. I truly hope that y'all are enjoying the Founding Father Fridays. I'm sure getting a lot out of it. But now it's time to kick it up. And the Sweet Bee landed in Honduras yesterday. And for that, I am truly grateful. Safe flight down there. She's out working with the orphans and the widowers today, or the widows today. And it just takes a special type of person to go ahead and do that. And I know I give her a lot of credit, but I want to challenge all of you. What is it that you do to make your community better? It doesn't necessarily have to be political. It doesn't have to necessarily be through a church. What are the things that you do to make your neighborhood a better place? To make your friends, to know your friends and neighbors? I think in this hyper technology type of society that we've developed, we don't really know our friends and neighbors anymore. Sure, we'll hit the heart button. Sure, we'll hit the like button. We'll respond to a text. But where's that real social interaction? It's almost like social media is turned into something that we never thought it would. And I genuinely worry about where we're going as a nation. I figure we've got 2, maybe 3 more election cycles where we can have semi-non-violent changes of power, transitions of administrations. But the infiltration is real, whether it be the stuff that you see in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or whether it's the stuff that Brother Shad White is finding out right now. It's right here, and that's why TTP Tuesdays are coming, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take my laptop and get it trained up over the weekend, and we'll be back again next Monday to fire it all up. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed weekend. We'll keep on farming the sheep over at the BA farm. The Sweet Bee is going to be doing her thing in Honduras, and the Sweet Toots is going to have a great weekend too. Volleyball this weekend. Looking forward to going and watching some girls volleyball. My daughter can hit. Take care, everybody. Be blessed.